Hey everyone, I'm NornQueenAlexis, and welcome back to the lore discussion series. We are on part 3 of Blood of Baal. Tyranids once again go. Okay, I'm not going to make the joke for the third time. This is essentially Tyranids getting cleaned up because they lost, without them actually mentioning demons in any way, shape, or form, even though the devastation of Baal had demons in it. Seems like a slight oversight, but who am I to say that? As always, I'm joined by a plethora, a gaggle, if you would, of pleasant characters. I have Viggy the GM.
Hello.
I have the Dark Prince himself. I was gonna say mistress. I am so sorry, White. I
You're
mean, you are
stupid.
Slaneshi.
Yeah, but you're still stupid.
Ah, that's mean.
Oh,
And we
really?
have the legendary Mega Primar Captain Jono Stuff Stealer. Okay, I'm not gonna go with the full name. John.
When Saga of the Beast.
When is Saga of the Beast? No, we're gonna get to that one soon. Wolfman Yifson in his dastardly duel with the gargantuan Gazgul. Am I doing pretty good at this?
But we have to see if the word wolf shows up more than the word blood shows up in this book.
I know, right? I think it's like 180 times for the word blood in this book.
I think it was more than that.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
Do a quick count.
All right,
uh,
so.
this PDF doesn't count. I have to use a different one, so I'll just do that in the background.
All right.
Alrighty.
So if you haven't been joining us, we are on page 16. The Dark Presence. Maybe we'll finally get some demons. Maybe.
No.
No.
Nope, less terrors.
So, babe, would you like to start off?
Starting with a sidebar. Ashelon. Ashelon's industrial heritage stretched back millennia, its city-sized refineries and crenellated furnaces dating from the time of the Great Crusade. These were interspersed with less ancient hive cities built upon the deep foundations of former factorums. Each stood atop a warren of abandoned conduits and flues, gantry nests, and echoing reservoirs, all slowly ground down by the hive city above them like a moraine beneath a glacier. Though no records exist, it was held by some amongst the sector's noble family that Ashelon was once a forge world of the Adeptus Mechanicus, one of such magnificence that its rulers imperiously annexed system after system around it. This embroidered story told that the Council of Terra itself grew suspicious or jealous of Ashelon's rise and took the world forcibly, destroying its forged temples and executing its tech priests. Variations on the tale postulated that the council acted with the compliance of the Adeptus Mechanicus, whose own political machinations are opaque, or that somehow agents of Terra were able to remove knowledge of the world entirely from the tech priests' records. Such courtly gossip filled the days of those bored with power and filtered down the social scale, so that sump grubbers and criminal gangs came to pass the story around like a fairy tale, one given credence by the occasional piece of archaeotech dug up in the hive's bowels. The clearest expression of Ashelon's magnificent past was the Via Celestos. This immense structure, more a statement of power than a bridge, linked the world's capital refinery city to the equatorial vat farms miles further south. A miracle of forgotten engineering, its buttresses soared skyward for half a mile above the befouled industrial landscape. Not merely supporting a single thoroughfare, the Via Celestos comprised an interweaving morass of transitways, bisecting, curling, threading through each other. From orbit, it appeared that the capital reached out with a mass of questing tendrils. Okay, that is
So it's
that's
a
pretty.
highway.
Buttresses.
It's a bit more than a highway.
I'm sorry, they lost how to make an interstate or a highway. That technology of making a road that intersects with another road or goes under or over it is beyond the Imperium. They cannot, in any way, shape, or form, figure out the technology to make a road. Jesus
Okay.
Christ, GW.
Except you would have to build it half a mile up in the sky.
Alright. What
That's
now?
not implausible.
No, but it is really difficult.
It's,
A
And
little heckin'
and
difficult.
it stretches across an entire continent. So
I
there's
mean, interstates go across everywhere.
Space
yeah,
road.
but you have to build it across an entire continent and half a mile in the air. That's no mean feat.
Take Route 66, elevate it. That's what they have.
That's more than just saying it.
It's not that difficult, though. It's literally a bridge. Like, Victor, you've seen the intersecting streets of New York City and the bridges over bridges over bridges, right?
Yeah, but
That's
those are not half a mile in the air.
Bisecting, curling, and threading through each other, so it sounds pretty complicated.
It just sounds like a normal highway to me. I mean, they could have gone into a bit more detail there, but it just sounds like a basic highway.
Space highway, but
Space highway.
Important thing. So, I have the count for the number of time blood pops up. You people want to take your guesses?
I'm going to say 234.
300. Are we using Jeopardy rules?
301.
Price is
We're
right.
doing closest without going over. Alright, so we
Okay.
got 300, 301, and 200 and what?
30-something.
Okay, well, John wins because it's 351.
Oh my god.
I beat Victor by cheating.
Yes.
All right.
Also, I do love the idea that Imperial agents deleted the information, so the Order Redactus getting a little bit of a mention here is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, you would think by now they would have people scouring the world for this archaeotech. Like, can you just find archaeotech on any Forge world? Like, do you just, like, dig in the
Probably.
ground and be like, hey, look, I found a shiny nickel compressor?
I mean, yeah, you technically can if there's ever been archaeotech on a planet. Well, if there's ever been an advanced civilization on a planet, you can probably find archaeotech by just, walking around the beach with a metal detector.
Man, I wish I could discover a knife. Then get 2 planets for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't discover a knife. They discovered an STC for a knife.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's actually why Space Hulks are so important, is because...
so many STCs.
Literally. And you also get alien ships in there as well, so you get the ability to study alien technology, which the Imperium does quite often.
And if you find a kitchen or a garden, you can find alien beans.
You need to stop.
Nope.
Alright, let's go with the Dark Presence.
As Dante attacked the swarms in the Baal system, the flesh terrors plunged into the tortuous warp without hesitation to reach the key industrial world of Ashelon. A creeping psychic darkness was spreading from the planet. Uncaring of its cause or implications, the flesh terrors aimed to find and rend apart the blight's source.
Okay, so that's just a continuation of what happened last time.
Yeah, that's just recapping the foreshadowing we heard earlier. So let's see what's up. Ashelon was hidden from the arcane senses of the flesh terrors, astropaths, and navigators, their warp sight blind to its condition. Some reported a notion that a hideous, slick mass of psychic accretion had built up around the system, while others were gripped by violent seizures as they tried to focus their warp sight upon it. The navigators could only take the fleet to the system's outer edge, describing visions of sliding down a stinking black gullet. Approaching Ashelon, Librarian Jarrod pinpointed the source of the growing aura, a city-sized refinery in the planet's northern polar region. It was reachable only by a single megalithic bridge, the Via Celestos, spanning a toxic hell half of a mile below. Wait. Oh, right.
Hey, that's the super bridge.
It is, but the fact that it says it's megalithic means it's built out of a single block.
I mean, yeah.
So maybe an entire mountain range got turned into a bridge?
Maybe?
That's how I'm reading it.
Or maybe it's another case of the writers finding a cool word in the dictionary, just slapping it there without thinking.
All it means is massive. Yeah, it just sounds like the writers going, megalithic sounds incredible, let's use it. I mean, in all fairness, the Golden Gate Bridge would be considered megalithic.
Fair. So, The Flesh Terror ships passed Ashelan's orbital platforms, hanging shadow. You okay, Knight?
John died. The
Did he
massive
die?
structures bore gaping rents where the Tyranid ships had forced their feeder tendrils into gore on the crews. Then the Flesh Terrors themselves encountered Tyranid biovessels, still clustered in orbit, seeding the planet below with alien spores. Alien brains! Okay, you can continue from there.
Lance volleys blaze from the Imperial vessels, rupturing meters-thick cartilage, while bioplasma and pyroacid shot back at them. The violence of Seth's attack enabled dropships to descend through Ashelan's atmosphere. Within their holds, the mood was grim. Many battle brothers had succumbed to the Black Rage, and every Flesh Terror felt a simmering anger that threatened to boil into violence. That's bad.
Yeah. Literally the entire company.
Let's see. All right. Ashelan's polar regions were subject to intense disruptive energies capable of tearing strike craft from the skies. This forced Seth to land armored assets further south, denying him the direct orbital insertion that would have allowed his warriors to vent their rage quickly. Battle tanks and transports rumbled from the drop point and reached the Via Celestos. The bridge soared so high over the polluted land that sickly mist obscured its foundations. Within the transports, squads of Flesh Terrors barely contained their rising ire, watched over closely by chaplains. Still, no broods poured out of the city, and the chapter master felt he was being drawn in. His suspicion proved prophetic when the skies darkened above the refinery ahead. Bum, bum, bum.
One of the cool things about this is they don't talk about drop pods. They talk about drop ships. Now, the Space Marines use 2 to 3 styles of drop ship. They use the Thunderhawk transport, the Thunderhawk, and they use the Stormbird. So it is possible that they have a Sukhopatan Stormbird that they came down in, but then the AA fire and the Tyranids prevented them from actually dropping in the dreadnoughts, the armored vehicles, and armored personnel. So Storm Ravens would have to go in with the personnel and a few dreadnoughts, while the bigger ships had to come in further away with the tanks and everything. Oh, yeah, they use Storm Ravens, Stormhawks, and
like
other interceptors.
The next paragraph mentions that they're Primaris dudes, so you can't put them in drop pods for some reason.
Wait, what? They actually say that in the lore?
Yeah, it says that it mentions intercessors in the next paragraph.
Oh, alright, let's get to that next paragraph.
Let's see. The dark cloud swiftly resolved into dozens of winged creatures, which swooped down upon the Flesh Terrors, and, just a reminder, swooping is bad. Spilling from their transport, the ebon warriors of the Death Company charged whatever they could reach, while interceptors formed a fire base. Corrosive bio-ammunition, melting armor seals and burrowing into flesh, but the Flesh Terrors' firepower held the winged terrors at bay. So, gargoyles?
Yeah, these are gargoyles, Hirudins, harpies, and hive crones coming after them.
Oh boy. Alright. As the rushing waves of aerial attacks continued, Seth's forces picked up Auspex warnings of foes closing from behind. The signal is becoming stronger, larger. Horrors resembling mythic drakes plunge from the sky, spitting accelerated crystalline clusters that tore through armor plate. Turret swiveled, tracks span. As the Flesh Terror's column responded to threats from all sides, the escalating anger proved too much for some battle brothers. With screams of rage, intercessors broke ranks in ones and twos, racing towards whatever they now perceived the Tyranids to be. Out of the mist below, yet more Xenos rose, spiraling around the Gothic buttresses of the bridge. That is a terrifying and cool scene.
Alright, so long as we maintain order and discipline fire lines, we should be able to take them out. Leroy Jenkins!
Oh, here we go. Oh, wait.
Wait.
We have to advertise the Death Company intercessors.
It doesn't actually state that the Primaris can't come down in dropships.
No, but it just mentions them, which I think is what it was getting at.
Yeah.
I think they
That's
can be transported in Thunderhawks in this edition.
Hmm.
Or the Sukabliet pattern Stormbird.
Alright. Stalled, disintegrating. The flesh terrors were being dissected.
Okay, you gotta read that sentence as if it was from Darkest Dungeon.
Stalled, disintegrating. The flesh terrors were being dissected.
Pretty much.
Alright, continue.
Ruin has come for a chapter.
Ruins has come for this small bridge. You remember our megalithic bridge, opulent and imperial?
yeah.
As if to confirm their fate, a new cloud of dark shapes appeared in the east. Yet, from its midst came rockets and blinding beams of energy that swatted screeching Tyranids from the air. Valkyrie and Vendetta gunships had arrived. Only as they sped overhead could Vox be established. The remnants of the system's Aeronautica Imperialis had survived out of sight of Ashelon's darkened orbital platforms. Detecting the Flesh Terror strike force, they had fought through Tyranid swarms of their own to reach the Space Marine position. The surviving Flesh Terrors snatched the opportunity created by the Imperial air assault to break out of the trap and surge onwards to the Refinery City. Librarian Jarrod led Seth and his blood-hungry warriors to the source of the sickening psychic miasma, the city's half-ruined astropathic tower. There, they would end it.
Okay, and something crazy is coming up, by the way.
Okay,
Alright.
so there's a lot to digest in there. Get it? Tyranids.
Aeronautica
No.
Imperialis.
The
Woo!
cool thing is, they stayed in orbit, meaning that those ships had to drop from orbit to come down. We knew that Valkyries and Vendettas were, but the Imperial Aeronautica, the Aeronautica Imperialis, contains things like the Avenger Strike Fighter and what are the other ones?
Thunderbolt.
The Thunderbolt Fighter, the Stormhawk Interceptor, and various other things. The Lightning Bolt.
Thunderbolts are void-worthy, I think.
They're minor void-worthy. Marauder Bombers are void-worthy. Momentarily, but they are. So we do get some more confirmation that a lot of the Imperial aircrafts can survive. Maybe not void, but definitely the drop down
Low atmosphere.
to the planet, the atmospheric
I'm-
descent.
I was about to say the Lightning Interceptor, but no, that thing is almost entirely void combat.
Yeah, that is their void craft.
Yeah. Alright. Under a gaping rent in the tower's roof, the Flesh Terrors found a bloated bioform in the remains of a spore sac. Veins of energy linked it to the twitching husks of slack-jawed astropaths. God. God.
We can't have one of these psychic awakenings without some kind of giant starfish eating the planet.
It was some breed of psyker beast, Seth guessed, engorged with power like nothing he had seen. With a shout, Jarrod cleaved the nearest astropath in two before a screech command filled the air. Monstrous Xeno suddenly broke straight through the walls and tore the librarian apart with crushing claws. I wonder what it was. Seth felt he understood.
Well, crushing claws only come from two Tyranid creatures, which is the Carnifex and the Hive Guard.
Well,
or Tyrant Guard.
I see the Tyranid tradition of throwing Carnifexes at your problems is still alive and well. All right. Seth felt he understood. This thing was using the astropaths, draining them to project its black will into the void. His chainsword Blood Reaver ripped through the air, shearing immense talons in half, each backswing messily beheading an astropath. The Flesh Terrors unleashed their rage, driving their weapons again and again into the Xenos with grisly fervor. The ruined tower was awash with gore when Seth finally plunged his churning blade through the Psyker Beast's brain, freeing the system from its growing taint. A bug that can think? I find that offensive.
Pretty much.
That's actually really cool. Because
That
it
is
shows you the adaptation of the Tyranid Psychers.
Yeah, they're yoinking astropaths to project the shadow of the war.
You know, this Psychic Awakening has made me sympathize with astropaths way more, because they seem to be getting the rough end of this deal.
They seem to be getting their
Right.
butts kicked no matter what.
Oof.
I'm just
Don't worry,
imagining War of the Beast, Gosgol captures a bunch of them. You guys stay here. I don't know what to do with you yet, but Psychic Awakening says I have to use you. He's running off.
Hey, wait, he's gonna use it. It's like, oh, y'all making a wall faker? I'm gonna make a human faker. No, but hey, don't worry, they're astropaths. It's not like they could see it coming.
Oof.
Wow.
Get it? Because they're all blind.
Ah.
Alright. Predator and Prey.
The fortress world of Bellic Alphas was the shield of its subsector. Its garrison had held out bravely behind the planet's strong defenses, yet the troops' resolve was faltering in the face of unexplained phenomena. Unknown to them, Blood Angel's reinforcements neared, but other eyes were not so blind to the Adeptus Astartes' approach. The Blood Angel's strike force arrived at Bellic Alphas in perfect coordination. The ships had been delayed and scattered by their winding path through the unquiet warp, but the final translation was flawless, and they re-entered real space with a storm of firepower. Blasted with macro cannons, some bioships withdrew into the void, trailing frozen gouts of ichor, while others aggressively attacked. Even as the orbital battle raged, Blood Angels under Captain Sandini of the 5th Company made planetfall.
Hey, it's Captain Sanguini.
Hey,
So
Hey.
it is actually cool
I'm
to
killing
see.
Tyranids over here.
It is actually cool to see that the Imperial Guard themselves actually not only saved the Blood Angels, or the Flesh Terrors, but now they're rallying, and the Blood Angels are the Flesh Terrors are actually coming to save them, or support them.
This is Blood Angels now. We're on a different planet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. As the Blood Angels' gunships descended, some squadrons peeled off. These carried task forces of Phobos armored Vanguard Space Marines, entrusted with obtaining caches of weaponry and technology. Bellic Alphas was rumored to harbor huge stockpiles of flesh-melting mutagenic acid used to produce Hellfire shells.
What?
Well, that's convenient.
Securing this substance for Dante's other forces would greatly improve their chances against the Tyranids elsewhere in the Red Scar. Yeah, so you can hand those to your 1st Company Tactical Marines.
Is this where I bring up the fact that Bellic Alphas is not? I guess they changed that because it used. I forgot what the planet's name, but it wasn't Bellic Alphas. Where that was supposed to be the anti-quote sole production manufactorum of Hellfire shell.
I mean, it just says it has the acid, but not that it produces Hellfire shells. They just have the components for it.
Yeah, used to produce the Hellfire shell.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So they just need to get a couple of super soakers, and they should be fine.
Like it says Bellic Alphas has huge stockpiles, not that it's making Hellfire shells.
What do I know?
I don't know.
Well, you
It's
see,
the Imperium.
Black
Why do they do anything?
Yes, let's give them the man. These Tyranids are unstoppable. They can only be defeated by the acid of Hellfire rounds. Don't worry, we happen to just have this huge stockpile of said acid.
I mean, yeah, it's not like they could just call in the Deathwatch, you know?
I mean, if only there was a special task force of Marines specially dedicated to killing Tyranids and other Xenos factions with some type of munitions that was perfectly capable of dealing with the Tyranids, and their expertise could lead to the overcoming of this alien menace, along with maybe an investigation unit that could study them in some way, shape, or form.
By say a investigative body that happens to have a sub-faction that specializes in investigating the alien.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, they're busy actually getting the Orks off of Fenris. Oh, wait, they're not.
No, they're dealing with the Xenos, like, you know, the actual Xenos, like the Eldar. Oh, except they're not.
Except they're not.
So, like, who are they fighting? The Necrons?
Maybe the
What?
Necrons, because the tower fighting the Imperium.
Used.
I think GW just tends to forget that they have organizations dedicated to this. And they can't even say that there's no watch fortress nearby because there is.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this took. Yeah, this is near Baal and Knight. If you can check which watch fortress is near
Yep,
that.
I'll grab my codex real quick, but carry
Yeah.
on.
Well, John, remember, they're too busy saying that they're not fighting Gazgul.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right. The Blood Angel's primary target was the fortified port complex at Rykon. Its besieged gatehouse was holding out, but the overrun city around it gave the swarms all the cover they needed. Xeno's forays had so far been repulsed, but there was no way for the Astra Militarum garrison to break out and shatter the horde with massed firepower. In accordance with strict strategic doctrines, the garrison had sent all of the port's soldiers to defend the gatehouse, but Sandini had no appetite for blinkered siege theory. He would secure Rykon on his own terms. Within moments, the fluid adaptability of the Adeptus Astartes had identified the means to crush the swarm. Yo,
I'm just
dog.
imagining
I
he
got this.
looks at the book, Codex Astartes. Ha! This book's not gonna stop me. I can't read.
Joke's on you, Gilliman. I can't read.
And yes, it's called the Castilio's Nullifact.
And that comes from the
Exactly.
8th edition Codex for the Deathwatch.
Heck yeah. Also, there's a nice Redemptor Dreadnought. Wait,
Yeah, that's the
no.
one I used for that joke.
Alright. The Blood Angel's gunships landed at the deserted port itself as Sandini gave instructions to the garrison commander to evacuate the fortress and join the Space Marines. It was ruthless, but Sandini knew the advantage outweighed the cost. The Tyranids would be led where he wanted them. Excuse me. The commander's reply was almost lost in the noise of anti-air cannons sweeping the port skies, but garbled words could be heard, describing horrifying incidents concerning his men. Of more strategic concern to Santini were reports of severe seismic disturbances felt across Bellic Alphas for months. Though the port itself had been stable of late, data inloads from the garrison's cogitators revealed that 3 outposts and their defenders had disappeared into suddenly yawning chasms. Is this a bunch of Tervagons?
That's a bunch of Trigons and Molochs. And Ravners. And probably Gaunts. Oh, also, I just wanted to point out something in the in one of the previous paragraphs. They talk about the Stormraven gunships peeled off and carrying Phobos armored Vanguard Marines.
I don't think they specified Stormravens.
No, but their only transport one is the Stormraven.
Ah.
So
all right.
There's an instant in the lore of Phobos Marines using the transports, which is obvious to everybody who thinks about it for half a second.
I mean, yeah, it's not like they're just gonna walk everywhere.
Or take their little transports everywhere.
Yeah, that's just dumb. Alright. On Sandini's instruction, the garrison abandoned the bunker complex that formed Rykon's gatehouse. No longer held back by its defense guns, the Tyranids smashed into it. A trio of Carnifexes charged. There we go again. Hey guys, we got this building over there. What should we do? I don't know. Just throw some heckin' Carnifexes at it.
Hey guys, there's a fortress of Hera over here. What should we do? Oh, throw some Carnifexes at it.
It just works.
I mean, yeah. All you need is a distraction Carnifex, and boom, battle's won.
I mean, if it doesn't work, your only problem was not enough Carnifexes.
Tyranid strategy number 1: the strategic assets of smashing Carnifexes. If we don't have enough Carnifexes, we'll lose. Good thing we have an infinite source of Carnifexes.
A trio of Carnifexes charged, their spined and plated limbs tearing through the reinforced portal, heedless of any damage to themselves. In their wake, hundreds of smaller beasts screeched and hissed as they chased the garrison making for the port. Run away. Alright. Behind the gatehouse complex lay a loading area crisscrossed with servo hauler tracks, and beyond that the port itself. Rykon Port had been built within a natural depression, and tiers of control towers and basilicanums encircled its landing zones like an amphitheater. As the garrison withdrew, suppressors fired into the oncoming Tyranids, shadowing the Imperial soldiers until they reached the cover of the port buildings. Now Sandini made his move.
Sunday.
So they just lured the Tyranids into a choke and then just killed them.
Let's see how they do it. From every fortified barbican, every shielded balcony,
You're dumb.
the fire support squads of the strike force let fly. The deafening sound reverberated around the depression from overlapping explosions to shrieks of propellant. Rykon Port was turned into a killing field as the heavy weapons of Sandini's own 5th Company and the 9th Company Reserve shredded dozens of Xenos every second. First wave of Tyranids disappeared in detonations of gore and flame, but more were coming. At their officer's command, the garrison soldiers turned their firepower upon the Xenos also. Volleys of irregular lasgun fire from the terrified men and women stabbed out, but their discipline was failing.
Hey, at least they said men and women. Oh god, they said women. The pen counter.
Oh no. Well, don't worry, they're not wearing power armor, so they should be safe.
Hey, look, we happen to find power armor.
Oh no, we're screwed. Alright. Suddenly, a rumble like an earthquake shook Rykon, unheard over the din of weapons but certainly felt. The soldiers of the garrison staggered. Chunks of ferrocrete rained down, striking human, alien, and Astartes alike, and fissures snaked across the port. This soon proved to be no natural earthquake.
Oh, what a
Alright.
guess.
Let's see.
It's so unnatural.
It's so unnatural. Let's see. Fountains of rock and earth erupted across the landing zone, many even bursting up within buildings. From them crawled sinuous hook-limbed monsters. In the center of the landing zone, the ferrocrete apron collapsed, revealing the ravaged foundations that lay beneath. A honeycomb of tunnel openings was exposed, and from every one crawled more and more Tyranids. Looking down, Sandini saw that the Xenos had bored through solid ferrocrete. This was no quick accomplishment. The entire area had been well prepared. Oh no, the Tyranids counter-ambushed him.
You think you're gonna ambush us? Not so fast. Uno reverse card.
Reading this place's name is Reichland.
Huh.
Reichland Reavers.
Reichland Reavers.
Alright. Bulbous floating creatures now advanced among the Tyranids, still sweeping forward from the gatehouse. Their fluted spines crackled with power, discharging bolts of energy that incinerated soldiers and melted through power armor. A hulking leader beast also waded through the lesser bioforms, its deliberate movement displaying a dark intellect. At the Sacred Beast's arrival, a strange malaise seemed to take hold of the garrison. Soldiers screamed and clutched their heads. Some tore at their eyes or suddenly attacked their own squadmates. Worse was yet to come.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Zoanthropes? Zoanthropes?
That's a hive tyrant and a bunch of zoanthropes moving through the area. Or that's a malanthrope and a bunch of zoanthropes moving through the area, and they're doing psychic scream.
What's the difference between a malanthrope and a neurothrope?
Oh, whoops, sorry, a neurothrope. The malanthrope is the giant tentacle.
There you go. There you go. The Tyranid formerly known as the Doom of Malantai.
Yeah. Hey, we might get those back one day.
Well,
I can hope.
Yeah, a man can dream, and a woman can dream too. The Blood Angels on the ground were forced to engage in individual squad combat. Their cohesion and firepower reduced by the need to defend against the Xenos now in their midst. They pulled back to second lines of defense as serpentine horrors slithered towards them at unnatural speeds.
That's raptors.
And it is raptors indeed. On upper balconies, their battle brothers slaughtered Tyranids still, but suddenly grasping claws and talons tore at their backs as broods of Genestealers burst from within the buildings. Oh boy. That's bad.
Yeah, it is. Guys, I got this great plan. We'll forego the Codex Astartes that tells us to defend the most defendable spot, and we'll bring them into an open area to fight them with some buildings around us. We'll pincer them. Isn't that exactly what the Tyranids, do? Shouldn't we defend the most defendable area? Nonsense. That's something an Ultramarine would do. Get a load of this guy over here.
What are you, an Imperial fist? Ha 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 ha.
We'd rather get slaughtered.
Alright. Captain Sandini, fighting with his warriors in ever-shrinking pockets, called in aerial support. When it arrived, it was only a fraction of what he had prepared. From orbit, the breathless shipmaster revealed that they were fighting for their lives, many of Sandini's gunships already defending against boarding actions. The bioships that had initially fled had returned with more of their kind. Living vessels that must have hidden themselves motionless in the dark reaches of the system. Sandini mastered his frustration. His strategic acumen spurred into action, even as he savaged the Xenos before him. Well, that's bad.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is he thinks he has the game. He plays his cards. He's down to 1, and the Tyranids are just like Uno reverse card, wild draw 4, and he's just like, damn it.
All right, let's have some Astra Militarum flavored miracle nonsense. It was then that the garrison's troops erupted with etheric power. Soldiers vomited black flame or ejected ribbons of energy from their flailing arms, consuming their fellow soldiers and Xenos alike. The Psyker beasts in looming leader bioform advanced on them as more horrific phenomena manifested. Clearly, these were the doings of the Tyranid witch breeds, but whether any of the Blood Angels would survive to report this new horror, Sandini did not know. His warriors were dying, Balik Alphys was falling, and hope was fading fast.
What?
This is how it ends?
So the Tyranids can cause a psychic backlash into humans and cause them to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see what...
That is awesome.
Speaking of the investigative body that has a subdivision that investigates the Xenos, shall we read some of their gatherings?
Yeah.
The Echoes of Awakening.
Yes, that is just a bunch of Inquisition stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, it's also just hinting at the future books, some of which we know what these are.
Also, just for reference, the guy on page 21, that is one heckin' cool artwork.
Does he have a name?
I don't believe he does.
He's a desperado. He has some sort of power fizz with an inbuilt weapon MIU.
Yeah.
That's a really cool character.
It is. Well, let's see what the Inquisition is up to. Echoes of Awakening. The Cicatrix Maledictum stretches the length of the galaxy, and warp storms covering whole sectors ravage once stable regions. From their depths pours the very stuff of the warp, fueling manifestations of psychic power both miraculous and terrifying. Myriad reports reach the Imperial authorities, from the seemingly mundane to the crazed and unintelligible. All speak of some momentous event gathering pace. Could it be a psychic awakening?
Dum dum dum.
Dun, dun, dun. Alright, let's see what's up. Multi-frequency Vox transmission, encrypt octaric masking, Baal Prime, southern polar orbit. This is the Ion Trawler Red Dawn, contracted to explore the Arches Veran. A request for immediate aid. They're killing each other. The followers of the machine god are murdered. Transmission fragmented. My men, the servitors, dropship crew. Madness. Magos Veran was investigating the octational Xenos remains upon Baal Prime. Our astropath is dead. Screams. Uplink breaks. We have received only broken Vox from the surface since by inherent threats of exsanguination protocols, but layers with distorting Voxgeist. My Vox officers swear there are roars. It cannot be the Magos. This is the Iron Troll data breakdown. Alright. Next one. Prepare Gavendor. Your wait is almost over. The day of days is near. The Star Angel's messages can be heard even by the faithless. Accept them and rejoice. Graffiti.
That's about a Genestealer cult.
Graffiti on Gavendor, Arbites Precinct Bastion. Penal indentes diverted to eradicate offenders. Alright. Let's see. Communicatis prioritis. Transgressio ultima. Security Protocol 6.3.11
This I gotta remember to use for Dark Heresy, because that is the Inquisitional data feed.
Yeah. Inquisitor, I have collated the requested reports, and these are addended. The Orks of Riken Nebula, until recently on the verge of collapse, appear to have been absorbed into the migrating force of the one known as Backrash. Their combined momentum parallels that of the tribes emerging from the Cabin subsector. I urgently recommend the deployment of the entire Borean Aegis Watch Fortress. This unusual uniformity of the Orks' movements will be irrelevant once they no longer exist.
And then
That is pretty cool. That's the Ordo Xenos dispatching an entire watch fortress to deal with an orc. Wow.
Wait, what? They deal with orcs now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Ordo Xenos actually doing something with the Xenos is, I know, beyond expectations.
Beyond your comprehension. All right. Servo recording recovered from Facility Alpha's orbital, Gamma 4. My Lord Dante, I commit grave news to this servo skull in the hope that it reaches you. I can no longer guarantee delivering it in person. The Mori Patris sees more and more brothers lost to us. So far, we have been able to sweep the facility's lower chambers, searching for the substance while defending the perimeter against the Tyranids. Eliminator Sergeant Dianello had been chanting the rites after our chaplains fell to the curse, but Dianello himself is now with the Death Company. Every day their number swells, more than I have ever seen. I do not know what will happen when we can no longer send them to meet the Xenos. Interesting. So apparently the Shadow and the Warp is affecting the Blood Angels more.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. It's driving them crazier and crazier.
True. My lord, we found no survivors aboard this facility. Our brothers inside had been ripped apart, though security protocols were still in place. My report on the other facilities at Gamma 4 follows. Alright. Interrogation of Gregan Chorl, Astropath Tharsis class, awaiting excoriation. Day 27. I was disturbed more than I can say by the message. The psychic tidings my kind receive often carry men in subtle layers. The original dispatch forms a kernel, and around that are woven imprints from each astropath through whom it had passed. You will not understand, but for us, each of these layers adds shades of meanings, allowing us to trace the course a message has traveled. What I received from the Southern Ultima segmentum was wrapped in confusion. I peeled the layers back one by one, becoming more and more fearful. At the center was nothing, like opening a sarcophagus and finding the black and rotten remains of life. An empty and blank message. From what? For whom? I cannot express how horrifying it was.
Ooh. Oh, the last one's good. Is that a Strive?
It's not the last one.
No, but I want to read this one, but is that Strive or a Stive?
What are you asking about?
The king on his throne. I seen him. Is that Starve? Or
That's
Stir.
Stir.
Stir. Okay, that looks like a V.
Slightly.
The king on his throne. Wait, what was it again?
Stir. Like stirring?
Wow. I cannot do this. I am sorry. The king on his throne. I see him stir. I hear him speak. Cold and gold and old and bold. Sing for your supporters, your priests who skull.
Suppers.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this little chant kind of, like, I can't remember if it's in the previous books, but I do know it continues in the later books.
Yeah.
I think it's just someone trying to drop some bars.
All right. Not gonna bother with the thing above it. I'm just gonna go into the text. I saw her at the Four Bells, reflected in my glass of Amasek. I say her, but that may just be an old man's fancy. No one there, though. Just those stick-thin merchants whistling that damn tune. Sickly pallor, void-born, no doubt. barkeep reckoned they'd been there a week. The tune had really stuck with people, he said. He was right. By the time I left, everyone was humming it, trying to think up words for it. Couldn't go anywhere without hearing it. Didn't seem to stick with me, though. Can't think why. Here, you ever find my 2 deck officers? Never got back on board. Lazy scum. Evidence 35T-12281. Interview with Void Captain Erifisk of the Bulk Hauler of Platos. Ooh, that's nice. That's an acolyte who just rolled an inquiry test at in a void station.
What will we do with the void? I just imagine they're just singing like void shanties, and it's just getting on his nerve.
All right. Experiment 5-ton beta. Magos, the wards are failing. Are you receiving my data transmission? I cannot assess what is happening. The servitors have ceased operation and are not responding. I do not know if they have suffered massive attend. They are operational again. They're not accepting new spheric imperatives. This is intolerable. We may have to relocate the artifact. They are moving now. Praise the Omnisar. No, go the other way. Their lenses. No, back. Magos, request immediate reassignment. Magos Theraton, please respond. Magos. Experiment abandoned. Assets unrecoverable. Conclusion. More data required. Experiment 5-ton 2-Y to be expanded.
That last one sounds like that definitely sounds like Necron.
Yes. All right.
And with that, we go into missions.
There's one more. Vox Thief Recording 8B-4 DVII Factorum Identity Monitoring. I picked up another echo of the message today. You know the one, same as the others, the same invitation. I've ignored them before, but what if it's real? What if there really is a place with people like me who hear things, and you with your... What if this crimson mentor really can free us and teach us? I can't hide forever, Joseph, I won't. Subject and interlocutor detained by local forces, awaiting arrival of black ship, Elysium.
Yes.
That's Magnus.
Yeah, that's Ritual of the Day.
Magnus! Alright.
Magnus up to no good again.
Yep, and
That's
that is that.
Alright.
There's nothing at the back, right?
No, that was only in Phoenix Rising.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's weird that
is
that's
it-
only in Phoenix Rising.
I guess they
Yeah.
realized it made too much sense.
Yeah, it didn't leave the story open-ended.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, here they kind of do, because like we don't even get a proper ending for Captain Sandini. Hey.
I don't know how I feel about this one. I think this one is probably the worst written so far.
This feels extremely underwhelming and unimportant.
Yeah,
It's
like
like-
it feels
The
like they
Tyranids
don't
are
really
doing stuff, but they don't feel like they're a threat.
like the Blood Angels are doing stuff, but it doesn't feel like they go anywhere. Like Mephiston, like barely even shows up in this thing,
Yeah, he
Like-
shows up for like a paragraph.
and he does. Yeah, sure, he does one cool thing, but that's it. He's like, this isn't.
It does sound towards the end like the Tyranids are turning the tide of the war.
It just doesn't feel like much of a story, just random things happening. Some of
Yeah,
which are important.
Yeah, I think this one gets to go to the bottom. Faith and Fury has second place, and Phoenix Rising is still holding the top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
that-
Phoenix Rising is the best so far.
I have to agree.
Well, it's like, did they really need the Flesh Terror story? Was that really necessary?
It was. I like the Flesh Terrors bit of it, especially towards the end where they got like completely bodied. Like I
Yeah,
think
and it
that's
had
really
that-
cool.
It had that bit with the astropaths and crap. It actually contributed.
Right. But I guess my thing is, I don't even think the Flesh Terrors are actually in the rules part, are they?
They actually are. They have their own section
Okay.
with warlord traits, relics, and such.
I don't know.
So I do like the Flesh Terrors thing, but it just I think the Okay, so it feels like nothing important is happening all the way up until the very end of the book. And
Yeah.
they just cut it short. So it's like the Tyranids are losing, the Tyranids are losing, the Tyranids are losing. Haha, this turned out to be a giant ploy by the Tyranids.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that aspect. So don't get me wrong on that. I think that's really cool, but it still feels odd, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what it is for, I guess the best way to say it is like for me, it felt like it felt like they were too scared to give any one side the pure advantage because it's like, oh, the Tyranids are here doing good. Now the Blood Angels do good. Now the Tyranids. Now the Blood Angels. Like they were too afraid to like give, like let anything be truly decisive. Like, just like they could have killed Sandini and been like, okay, so this is now definitely more in the Tyranids' favor, or like, hey, we found a Norn Queen.
It would be cool if they found me.
Huh?
They just pop in. We've come to kill you. Well, that's just rude.
Blood Angels, open up.
So overall, I gotta give this story so far like a 6 out of 10, and the 6 is because of the very ending.
Which I don't even know if I'd give it a 6.
Yeah.
Are you saying you'd give it a 5 out of 10? It was okay.
A 4 or 5, really, because it was just a weird anthology of stuff that just didn't really matter.
It's also stuff we've read about. Like, we've read the conclusion of this battle in Devastation of Baal.
Well, except this happens after Devastation.
Yeah, it's after Baal.
But it doesn't even feel like it.
Like, here's the thing. I feel like anything new or prominent in this could have all just been summed up with a single sidebar.
Pretty much. Like, there's some like cool visual stuff in here, but not much else.
So yeah, 5 out of 10. It was okay. It's cool that it swung to the side of the Tyranids, so it's not an Imperial victory.
I mean, I can barely tell if anyone won.
I mean, that's the mark of a good book, but at the same time, it's written so
I would disagree. The mark of a good story is like 90% of a good story is the ending.
Yeah, well, this book's ending was okay. The Universe part at the end was pretty good.
I'd argue that it didn't even have an ending.
Well, yeah, it very clearly doesn't. It very clearly doesn't. But that's GW's style. They never put an ending.
Like, here's the thing. Faith and Fury didn't have an ending, but, like, the entire story was something new that happened. And it had an actual narrative.
Yeah, like, it had a protagonist in that. Here, like,
we have
Dante. Yeah, but then again, Sandini is barely a protagonist.
We also have the Flesh Terror guy.
Yeah, Gabriel Seth is there, Dante is there, Mephiston barely shows up, and he's the guy on the front page. Well, the cover, I should say.
Yeah, brand new model, barely does anything.
Uh-huh.
Like, it almost feels like they should have made Primaris Sanguini. He's in here more than anybody else.
He had to be in the obligatory Psychic Awakening section where they show off how cool the Vanguard Marines are.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah. So what are we doing next? Are we going in order, or are we going to skip to Saga of the Beast?
If Saga of the Beast comes out before then, we'll record Saga of the Beast, and it'll probably come out in between this. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I want to get to Saga of the Beast, but which is the next one?
Ritual of the Damned.
Yeah,
the Dark Angels
is the good one.
Yeah, because it has an ending. Yes.
Sacre bleu.
So, with that, I want to end this episode of the lore discussion series. We don't really have a better name for it. It's just that. So, thank you everybody for joining and watching, and thank you to my co-hosts for being awesome as always.
No.
So, with that, say your goodbyes.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Watch out for Tyranids.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. As always, I'm NornQueenAlexis. I love you guys. Bye.